Benson. I just will always remember how soft his skin was. I just couldn't help but just keep stroking it and holding him in my arms. There's just something really special about him.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel, there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. I'm just so excited to talk to Sarah today. She reached out to us with kind of a recent loss, and it just breaks my heart also just some of the things that we're going to be going over today, but I'm excited to chat with Sarah today about her son, Benson. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Winter.
We're excited to have you here. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you guys are located and what your family looks like, especially at the time of when Benson was born?
Yeah. My husband and I, we live in Michigan, like West Michigan.
Yeah.
And we have currently a little 1.5-year-old at home. He was, I don't think, like 14 months or so when we had Benson. So yeah, it wasn't too long ago that he was born. But we're both working parents, and I'm a dentist actually, which is really kind of fun.
Yeah.
I work with my sister, and we took over my dad's practice, and my husband works with his dad. So lots of family business going on.
That is really cool. So everybody is in Michigan area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of our parents live within an hour away, so we have really great family support and families and church friends around here. So we are very well loved. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, that's so good to know just kind of where you guys are at. And what do you guys like to do as a family, or just kind of for fun?
Yeah, we love being outside, especially with a little, going on toddler right now who loves to be outside. Yes. Just walks and runs, and, right now the summer in Michigan has been beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But we just love to be together. And because our family is around too, we often spend weekends just spending time with them and different cousins. That we have around. So we don't have any major hobbies that take up so much of our time, but we love to just be together, and both of our love languages are quality time, my husband and I. So we just doesn't really matter what we're doing. We just enjoy it together. So it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. You guys are so busy, and I just love that you have family so close by too. That is wonderful. And you did mention that Benson was not born long ago. And can you give us just context about how long ago at the time of this recording when he was born?
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day, it's going to be like 5 months next week. So yeah, about 5 months ago, toward the beginning of this year, 2026.
Yeah. So I just want to point out that is for a mom to come approach us when it's been less than a year, that is so difficult. I just am thinking, 5 months was real rough still, a lot. It was really, really difficult. So thank you again. I'm just going to throw that in there because I'm like, that is so difficult. Okay. Well, so then you had, at the time of Benson's birth, you had a 14-month-old. So it sounds like you wanted to have a family. You family, kids were in the cards. Did you have any issues with fertility, or was Benson planned? Give me a little bit of what your family was planning on doing.
Yes. With our first babe, thankfully, we didn't have too much of a time getting pregnant and had him. And that was a normal pregnancy to 41 weeks. Okay. And so our little son, his name is Jay. And then we really did want kids close together. So we kind of just went for it after the first baby. And I had a pretty, actually a fairly smooth postpartum with my first son. And, he was actually a really good baby too, almost so good where we kind of joke we got tricked into another one right away. Not tricked, but this is easy. Let's have another.
We totally can do this.
Yeah. So I got pregnant 8 months postpartum, which we were super excited about because, like I said, we my sister and I are really close together, like 13 months apart. So it wasn't weird for me to think about having the kids close together. Yeah. And then when we found out it was a boy, we were like, oh my gosh, the two brothers will be so close. And just, became like the boys too. So, and actually it was kind of a weird thing. I never even got a period postpartum, but we still got pregnant. So, yeah, just a little bit of a different thing there. But all the more reason we're like, well, it must have been meant to happen because we didn't really know. Yeah, we didn't know all the details about that. So we were really, really excited.
That's so fun. Were you like breastfeeding or anything like that to your first one for Jay?
Yeah, I mean, but I stopped after like 5 or 6 months. So I was just like, the cycle will probably return pretty soon. And then, we got pregnant. So I know kind of a good thing for me too, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
That's so fun and kind of fun and surprising. Can you tell me when you found out, so what happened, I guess? Did you like, something feels off or something feels a little different?
Yeah, good question. I like kind of been learning my cycle and things like that when trying to conceive for our first son. And so I do remember a day, again, I was however many months postpartum, where it like seemed like ovulation could be happening of like, my cervical mucus or this or that. And I was like, well, like, let's just, be sure to try, let's check it out. And then I remember about 2 weeks after that, I was like, hey, if that was ovulation, like, maybe let's see. And so I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. So, so there were some signs in my body, I guess, of like, oh, cool. Like this could be it, Yeah. And so that's kind of how it happened. But then when you don't have a cycle, when we called our healthcare providers and things like that, they want to do some HCG testing because we kind of had a good idea of when he was conceived, but they wanted to do some testing. And that's why we ended up having like an 8-week ultrasound and stuff too, just to check on baby. So yeah, kind of a different way of it happening, but I was like, well, that's great.
Yeah, that is so fun. So did you find out yourself and then did you tell your husband?
Yes. Gosh, if I remember it, of course, second baby, it's like, doesn't seem as dramatic. I think we just like took a test that like maybe in the morning and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's 2 lines. And then we were just like, we were just so excited. So I think I probably like maybe saw the strip first, but then told my husband right away that morning. I was like, I think we're pregnant again. So
fun.
Very fun.
Yeah. And thinking about, having close siblings, because same thing with my siblings, we're all really crammed in there and it's fun to be that close in age with my siblings. So, okay. And then, so you found out you were pregnant because of the fact that you weren't totally exactly sure when. It sounds like you had a good idea, but the clinic wanted to see you, it sounds like. So did you end up taking your HCG at that 8-week ultrasound, or did you end up going in a little earlier just to do blood work and such?
They had me do blood work and because they look for like a doubling over a certain amount of time. I'm sure some moms know that, but yeah. And that was actually a weird thing too. So they wanted me to blood test HCD, then 48 hours blood test again. And they want to see, I think, doubling. And I remember the midwife calling me maybe like the day after that second blood work and was like, hey, kind of like some bad news, but like we don't see the number doubling in the way we want it to. Like, like it sounds like this might not be a successful pregnancy, but maybe we'll have you test just one more time next week and see if like there's any if the HCG is going up at all. And I was like, oh gosh, like that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But then I did a little blood test again the next week and same thing, it hadn't doubled or like it hadn't multiplied in the way that they would think, but it went up. So she was like, okay, well, like we'll just monitor, we'll plan an ultrasound at 8 weeks, but like it kind of sounds like this could be like a miscarriage situation too. And I was like, shoot, like obviously really bummer. And so we were really anxious leading up to that 8-week ultrasound, which was essentially going to check for like a heartbeat in general. Like, was the baby, growing like normal? And we had it though. We went in and my husband was with me too. I remember we had to like chase the baby out in the lobby for most of it because he wasn't going to sit in the room. But like came out and had a little printout and I was like, Riley, like they said like definitely a heartbeat, like all good, measuring like completely, like to the day of when I ovulated, like measuring normal. So we were like, cool. Like, and I just kind of like thought we were past it, you know, like, oh, like great. It sounded like it was a weird, like jump start to the hormones going up, but like sounds good. And then from there on, it was just kind of a normal, you know, pregnancy for a really long time.
Okay. And are you seeing an OBGYN, a midwife?
After my first baby, I had like unfortunately a really negative experience with labor and birth of my first.
Oh, shoot.
And for a couple different reasons, I was induced and I really didn't want to be.
Gotcha.
I had, you know, it kind of came down to like I was like ready to have him, like had just pushed for like almost 2 hours, you know, the whole thing, like ready to have him.
Yeah.
And there was not a doctor to come in and like deliver the baby with me. So they had me wait for like an hour plus, and I was so uncomfortable. And like it was pretty hard, like just mentally, like it was not supposed to happen.
No.
So anyway, I switched, like new baby. I was like, I'm switching hospital systems. I wanted to work with midwives. Like I hired a doula, like I was going to do a lot of things different, which we'll talk about with Benson's birth too. But yeah, so I had totally switched. I totally switched kind of like the whole way I was doing things for the second baby.
No, and that's good. I mean, it does inform like what happened the first time around. It does inform what you do the next time. So, and then did you find this midwife, or was it like a midwife group that you?
Yep, it was a group. They worked with like one of the hospitals. I live like kind of in a bigger city where there was, I mean, a couple different hospital systems to choose from actually. My first hospital system didn't have midwives at all. And so this next one did, but still doctors, you know, of course, that are there present if needed too. But yeah, I chose to work with midwives for this, like all my prenatal care and things like that. So it was great.
Good. Okay. And then, so everything checked out okay on that week 8 visit, which is great and reassuring and going beyond. So I know that usually it's pretty infrequent. I'd say like monthly that they come and see you. Are you feeling good? Like in the meantime, are you nausea or anything like that?
I'm feeling pregnant.
Okay. Yes.
Like meaning, for me, pregnancy was unfortunately a lot of nausea in the first trimester, especially just feeling like super cruddy.
Yeah.
I actually felt sicker for longer with Benson, like closer to 16, 17 until I like really felt like I could kind of function better and like have an appetite and things like that. But yeah, nothing other than that. That's crazy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, nausea is fairly common, I think, for a lot of us. Yeah.
Yep, it is.
But other than that, there wasn't anything funky or.
Okay.
I had been pregnant before, so that was the other thing too. At least I knew what to expect. I remember my first pregnancy, there being a couple like, gosh, this is a pregnancy symptom? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, like, I don't like this.
But I knew what to expect, at least for this one, which was a blessing.
So it did sound a little bit more on par for what you had experienced before. So nothing crazy out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it was very normal. Okay. And we even had then the 20-week ultrasound, you know, the kind of the classic anatomy one that oftentimes moms will get. And things looked really good on there. Like, okay, we got to verify it was a boy, which was awesome. And like everything looked really, really good. I remember afterwards, my provider, I think I saw a different midwife that day too, was like, there's just one thing that we see on the ultrasound. Like he had a little, they call it like a dilated renal pelvis, which means like one of his kidneys had the pelvis or like kind of the tube that goes from the kidney. Was like dilated. And I remember she's like, we considered dilated meaning opened, like anything over, I think she's like 5 millimeters. This was at like 5.4. Okay. So I was like, okay.
Just slightly.
And she was like, and she was like, also, this is the most common anomaly found on 20-week ultrasounds, especially with boys. So like, we're really not concerned. We'll likely want to do another ultrasound in like 6 to 8 weeks or something like that, just to check that it's like resolved. And I was like, okay, like, you know, I'm not like too anxious of a mom. So I was kind of like, okay. And I even remember going home that day and like Googling it, of course. And it really did say it was like the most common finding or like anomaly finding on an ultrasound. And I even remember asking the midwife too, like, well, if it didn't resolve or if he were to be born with like a dilated pelvis of the kidney, you know, would that change his quality of life much? Like, what does that look like? And she was like, nope, we would just kind of check on urinary output when he was born and, you know, make sure things were good. And I mean, was like just really not concerned.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, I'll just forget about it, and we'll be fine.
And you'll be checking back in a few weeks too, it sounds like. Okay.
Right. Well, and it's kind of almost funny looking back of like, I almost was like, do we need another ultrasound?
I see. I gotcha.
Not that I'm against ultrasounds, but I was kind of like, to go downtown and get another scan and this whole thing. And I really almost like canceled it and like didn't want it, just thinking it would all be fine.
Yeah.
And it was with MFM, which was kind of, well, a little bit weird for me of like, oh, so like, they would read it, I think, because they have a more like detailed ultrasound. So anyway, I remember like asking my midwife again a couple weeks later, like, so like, I really should. She's like, yeah, just go in there, get it checked out. All good.
Just do it. Okay. Okay. So I do want to ask, when you did have that 20-week ultrasound, aside from the dilated renal pelvis, did you, so you found out that he was a boy. Were you guys feeling one way or the other, if you were going to have a boy or girl?
We had done the, like, basically like a third party gender testing. So not like the full testing, like blood testing that does all of the genetic stuff too. But we did this for our first baby too. We just like loved being able to find out the gender early.
Oh, yeah.
So we did that, and we had gone to, anyway, we did the blood testing, sent it off. We got it back. We got like kind of the results in like an email from this third party. And the way we decided to kind of like do a fun little reveal was just me and my husband and my son. We went to like the local ice cream shop, and we we asked the girl there, she was like a high school girl, of like, hey, will you open this email? And if it says girl, like, will you bring out like a strawberry ice cream or like a pink cone? Yeah. Or if it like is a boy, some kind of blue, like blue moon or blue swirl or something. So of course they like loved it. Like the local high school little ice cream. They're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Yeah. So they of course like did the email, and they kind of did this fun reveal where like they put a cup over it and then showed us. And then we were like, oh my gosh, it's a boy, another boy. So that's just like a fun memory we'll always have too, of how we found out the gender with Benson, and we have little pictures. But again, it was like just us. We didn't do a whole gender reveal with the family, but then we could send the picture to family and say like, hey, blue ice cream, it's a boy. So very
cute.
fun.
So cute. Okay. And that you can do that kind of early. So it obviously was before the 20-week ultrasound then?
It was. We probably did it like at 10 or 12 weeks. I think you could do it even earlier, but I think we did it right around like 10 or 12.
Okay.
So it was just kind of like a fun, we loved knowing the gender before, and just being able to say like he and his room, and like I, feeling him, that kind of thing was fun.
It's nice to be able to, I agree. Did you guys have any names queued up then? Did you guys have difficulty with names? Because I had a hard time with boy names, so I'm just
curious.
Did
you really?
We did, yeah. So I'm curious what you guys how that was.
Yeah, we joked with like our son, our first son, we always knew what his name was going to be. Like if we ever had a boy, it was going to be Thomas J. We were going to call him Jay. Like it was just all these family things. And so we joked that like our boy list name was like one list, or it was like one name long, and we crossed it off. So to answer your question, we were definitely like thinking of names. In fact, I was going to say this later, but like we didn't have a name. Like when we found out about kind of Benson and what was going to happen and all of this stuff, we didn't have a name picked out yet. So we just kind of like picked one because we really wanted him to have a name for like the rest of kind of that journey. So we maybe had like one or two that we kind of liked, but we didn't have a very long list either, Winter.
It's hard.
Yeah,
seriously.
Our girl list was very long.
It's so
not
long.
The boy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like I don't know what to do. This is gonna be too hard.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Okay, so then after the 20-week ultrasound, you are starting to feel a little bit better now, and going like kind of midway through the second trimester, right now? For sure. Yep. Those kind of symptoms were gone. And I remember too, I was able to like feel Benson like moving earlier than I was our first baby, which sometimes second time moms can feel that better. I also just think like where the placenta is and stuff sometimes matters. But I remember, just feeling his little flutters and kicks and stuff, even probably before that 20-week ultrasound this time around, which was really sweet. Just love feeling a little baby move. Yeah. That's wonderful. Okay. And then, so then tell me what week you went in for this kind of that second ultrasound.
Yeah, it kind of got pushed back a little, or I was
Did it?
like, I just kind of kept pushing it off
Right,
because
right.
I didn't think it was
Yeah, you're like,
important.
okay,
Yes, but that was around like 20, I was just before 28 weeks
okay.
that I went in for that ultrasound. And that was just like a Friday morning. I went by myself.
Mhm.
I think my husband stayed home with our son that morning. And I remember going in and getting it done. And I kind of been saying like I'm definitely not an ultrasound technician, but like I saw a lot of stuff that I was like, gosh, this is like kind of seems off. Like,
Oh,
like black on an ultrasound is like fluid, right? So
yeah,
like there's a lot of like these big areas of like black, like very dark.
yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of weird. I wonder if they're just like really zoomed in on something.
Hmm.
And then after the ultrasound too, I remember waiting in the room for like a long time. And I'm like, gosh, these MFM people are like really busy, you know? And then finally when a doctor did come in, it was like a whole team of doctors.
Oh.
Like all like four of them came in. And I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Like this is not good. And I remember the kind of the lead doctor who started discussing, she was like, hey, can you kind of maybe like share why you think you're here today? And I was like, well, they saw a dilated renal pelvis. Like, we're just looking for it to be resolved. Like, that was kind of it. And she was like, yeah, basically she just kind of started to explain that, like, yes, that spot in his kidney was now like really, really dilated and then not working, and all of this fluid was backing up because like even in utero, like their kidneys are still processing fluid. And there was fluid just like everywhere, like around his lungs, around his heart. Like he had this like 8 centimeter cyst, like on one of the other kidneys, like just like apparently really, really, really bad. And I was like, oh my God, like I was completely blindsided.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, even the MFM doctors were like, we went back and looked at the 20-week, like they didn't miss anything. Like we totally agree with their readings. Like we've never seen it progress this much in like 7-8 weeks. Like they had no explanation. Which is just really weird too, because oftentimes if a baby isn't going to like develop right, or a certain organ or something, like it just seems like you kind of know by the 20-week. And I guess we had like a hint of something at 20, and then things just like, yeah, it got really, really bad. And
Very quickly. Yeah.
Another reason why I was blindsided is like all my appointments, you know, he was growing normal, he was moving normal, heartbeat was normal. So like all of those things that we, you know, there was nothing to catch at those appointments, because those were all like standard readings every time too.
Yeah.
So I was just like, yeah, I mean, I was
the progression so quickly in that time.
Yeah, like 0% expecting that. Like most of us are never expecting anything to be wrong with our baby anyway, like, you know, and then I think this is like when I really started like freaking out. They were like, we think you should be admitted to the hospital right now. Like, we want to do a few more like testing. And they were even kind of talking like if they were like going to induce baby. Like, I think it was kind of, they were saying like if there's any chance that getting him out would be better than keeping him in, like go home, pack for a couple nights in the hospital, like, you know, kind of plan for the long haul. And I was like, what? Like I'm 28 weeks.
I know.
Like,
I was going to say you're 28 weeks. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm sure they were just trying to like warn us about any possible options. But I was like, I need to go home. Like, I need to at least like go home and talk to my husband. Like, I am not going straight to the hospital. Like, I needed just like a minute. And they were kind of like, I mean, that's fine, but like, we're really recommending you come back within the next hour or two, like, so we can do more testing.
Oh my goodness.
So of course I'm like calling my husband on the way home, like, I mean, sobbing, like freaking out, you know, then he's all upset, of course. And then he was going to call his, I think it's his parents that ended up coming to stay with our son so that we could go to the hospital. And, you know, just like this whirlwind of things, like all at once. I remember too, I always remember I was going to go to a concert with my sisters-in-law that night. We all had we're super excited about it. And I was just like, I think he even called them and was like, hey, just so you know, like Sarah's not going to make it. Like just kind of everything happened at once.
Yeah.
And so we did go to the hospital and they checked us in. It was like so weird being in L&D too. Yeah. Like it was just weird because I'm like, I'm not here to like deliver this baby. Nope. And I think they did like a fetal MRI and a fetal, like an EKG. I think that was the majority of the testing that they were doing. So we were kind of just there like most of the day.
Just getting tested on everything. Yeah.
And waiting for like the results.
To be read and
And
everything. Sarah, quick question. Do you,
yes.
so you mentioned that they talked about all this fluid kind of around him
Mhm.
and around his organs. Did they say, one thing, did you notice anything different about the way you were carrying him, or like, were you noticing that you were bigger or anything of that nature? Like,
Good question. I did not.
okay.
And I think like once a couple more weeks went by after this, I think I started realizing that because the fluid was in him, but it just meant
Yes.
it was like not amniotic fluid in like my
In the
belly.
rest of
So
your body.
yeah,
Okay.
it's not like there was more fluid than there should have been. I think I was low amniotic fluid because he wasn't
Because
like
he
getting it
wasn't
out.
processing it. Okay. I
Yes.
see. Okay.
So I was pretty uncomfortable toward the end of just like I felt so like tight. Like there
Oh,
wasn't as much cushion with the baby because because he wasn't like excreting it the way he was
yeah.
supposed to be. It's so crazy that they like pee and everything inside of they almost like they're just like their little body functions are going. But so that's my answer. At 28 I don't think I felt much of a
Okay.
difference. You're kind of getting more uncomfortable third
Yeah,
trimester. So you're like,
totally.
maybe this is it. Maybe this is how it was like to have a belly.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like the belly
Anything
wasn't like engorged or
unusual? Okay,
anything.
perfect. And then,
Yeah.
so when they did talk to you, did they say like this is just something with the kidneys? Did they say anything in particular about what a diagnosis was, or that they were testing additional things just to get an actual diagnosis?
I think that's what they were doing with the testing was just to
Okay.
try to get like if there's any answer, and then really I think what the key of it was like, is there any intervention we could do to make this better,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
Like, is there anything we could do, even if it's like to get him a few more weeks, and then like I don't know. And I kind of after all that testing, I remember same thing, like kind of a team of doctors came into us, including like the like fetal kind of cardiologist
Hmm.
doctor and all of them. And they all just were kind of like all the testing really did was just confirm that it was like really bad. Like that there was it was not looking good. Like they basically said like I would not expect him to survive to term, and it sounded like his heart was actually going to be the limiting factor because like the fluid was getting such a burden that
On.
like it was probably going to be his heart that gave out.
Oh.
Because like he doesn't
Yeah.
need to breathe in utero
Yep.
either. His lungs were very small because of all the fluid too, and that kidneys, like same thing, like the umbilical cord placenta does enough where like that was probably not going to do it
Yeah.
for him, at least in utero. But like his heart, it was just getting really really heavily burdened by the fluid already. So what they kind of said was like, there's not really anything we can do. You can yeah, like they offered steroid shots, which I'm sure some of your moms are familiar with. Like, how they'll do some steroids to like kind
Yeah.
of try and beef up their lungs. So if a baby was born premature, it helped with the lungs a little bit. But that meant like coming back to the hospital again, like 12 or 24 hours later, something like that. And just knowing that like, it wasn't going to be his lungs, that, like that was not going to be a deciding factor. I think they were like kind of trying to throw something out there for us to like do, to like act like we're kind of helping, but I just kind of declined that. And I was like, I mean, no, thank you. But, so then we just like went home that day, knowing that our baby was like really no longer going to survive to term. And, of course, just
Oh,
very, very sad, like,
yeah.
whoa, what a day. Like,
Completely.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
were you able to talk to your husband? Were you able to, I'm like, that's a lot to process in like a
Mhm.
very short amount of time. So I'm wondering what you guys did or talked about. Because they did they suggest induction now at that time? Or did they say
Well,
just wait and let's see how it goes?
yeah, that was a little bit of our story too, where, because when we kind of went home and started thinking about it of like, gosh, well, he's alive now. Like,
Yeah.
would there be any way to maybe even like induce and meet him alive? Like, we weren't sure that's for sure what we would want to do, but we were like, we just wanted to at least explore that option and see what that looks like. And ended up talking so now we're basically working with like MFM. So we went from like midwives to like, maternal
The
fetal
big
medicine
guns.
as our
Yeah. Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember asking them about that. And, the doctor that we worked primarily with, she was like, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from. And my husband especially, it just meant a lot to him to be able to meet our son alive. Like it just did. Like I mean, as women, we get to experience our babies and feel our babies and like have that physical connection with them. But my husband was really honest and just expressing that like it would mean like so much to him to just at least like, even if it was for a minute, like meet him alive, So that's part of why we just like thought about this induction thing. And in fact, our MFM doctor, she brought it to like the ethics board and bounced it off of them and kind of explained the situation we were in. And they actually came back, a few days later and were like, we can't induce. There's not really any medical reason to induce. Yeah, it does. It gets like sticky, right? Because we also didn't feel really good about like deciding when our baby was born and then therefore died,
Yes.
We really wanted to like leave it in the Lord's hands, but we also really wanted to meet our baby. And so we were just like so torn and weren't sure what to do. And I mean, looking back, it was almost kind of a blessing to have like it decided for us. Yeah. Because once we got that answer back from the ethics board, we were like, okay, like that's okay. We're going to ride it out. So we were just kind of waiting for the baby to pass, like for the baby to be stillborn, which like I of course hated too. Especially, I mean, as the mom, it's like, gosh, like have I felt him in a while? Like this and that, like just how that was going to go and how sad it was to just wait to like, your baby to die inside of you. Like it just a lot.
No, and this is, I don't like this.
I know. And like, some people gave us good wording around it too, of like this anticipatory grief, right? Of like, the baby is still like inside me, still moving, still heartbeat, all of the things, but like you're anticipating, the grief and the loss and the trauma that you're about to experience. And we really just had like a village of people around us though, like surrounding us in prayer and support. And, it's almost kind of weird too. Like our baby hadn't even died yet, but we were getting flowers and meals and people just like so supportive and helpful and like knowing how tough of a time, it was for us. This was right around the holidays. So Christmas passed and, just like really, really tricky. We had also, like, because we had that time though, we knew what was going to happen and it hadn't yet. We were able to meet with the neonatologist or like one of the NICU doctors at that hospital. And basically just, he looked over all of the, studies and all of the testing and just wanted to meet with us to kind of talk through. And essentially this meeting was mainly focused on like, if baby were to be born alive, like by a miracle, would any intervention make sense? Like, is there anything we could do, or would it be frivolous basically to even try? And we had a really, really compassionate doctor, but very honest. And he was like, there's no 0% in medicine, but there is like 0%. This baby survives. And so I think like the most loving thing you could do when he is born is just like hold him in your arms, like him only knowing the love of his mom and dad, versus being like whisked away and hooked up to stuff, like just like almost like baby life support and like for what, So that was like really, really hard to hear, but it was also like, again, like just very helpful to know that like we were making the compassionate choice of like no intervention, no NICU involvement, like that we didn't have to like, oh gosh, if there's 10%, like do we try? Like that's got to be so hard. If there's 2%, do you try, right? Like you don't want to like be missing out on a chance for your baby, but he was like, there's nothing. But it really was helpful to at least know, because we struggled with that too, of like, how much intervention do we try if he were to be born, all of that.
I appreciate when there's some honesty, because I feel like that's compassionate as well. When then there's like, this is what would actually it would look like. And so, I think that he was compassionate in helping with that decision in a sense. Like you're like, okay, well, it's kind of made up for us. Were they seeing you a lot more like, because of all those? It's interesting because you're like, there's not really any interventions to do, for him.
Yeah, they wanted to see me weekly for ultrasounds.
Okay.
And they didn't really come out and say that, but I almost think it was just like checking on like if he was still alive. I mean, I did ask, I was like, are we looking for things to get better? Are we looking for things to get way worse? And they just kind of, it's just something they recommend. So I actually kind of talked to them about like, how about like every other week? Cause I felt very sad thinking about like going in every week just for a reminder of like, yep, like things look terrible, like, like he's overburdened with fluid and like not, it's all of that. So we only had from that 28 week, I think it was like Christmas Eve, we went in, it was like maybe 2 weeks later for another. And same thing, there was like really nothing different on that ultrasound. And then that was the only other ultrasound we had before he was born, actually. So
I do like that you got to see him, though. There's something nice about, even though it's hard to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe some
and even
struggle.
that middle, yes, even that middle ultrasound, like we recorded his heartbeat. Like we got another little like picture of his face and stuff. Like, the ultrasound before that, we didn't know how precious that would be. But so we're like, we're going to do it at this one, and how, anyway, just recording the heartbeat and being with him alive and like kind of seeing him on the screen and stuff. Yeah, just what you're saying. It was special. Sad, but special.
Yeah. Okay, so then the holidays have, Christmas has come and gone, and can you tell us a little bit about how things progressed or what happened after that?
Yeah. Kind of the one other thing we had right around that time was we did also meet with a palliative care team.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, which like, again, as sad as that meeting is, like, they're just talking about like what it looks like to have a loss in the hospital and what options are and giving us funeral home recommendations and like, options for baby. So like nothing you want to be thinking about with your baby. But, I do know a lot of lost moms like don't even have a second to like of heads up at all about their loss and their baby passing and all of that. And so like that was one more thing, like whenever he was born, we were able to go into the birth, like at least having known like whatever funeral home we were going to use. Like I like hate thinking about that, but like we have to make the decisions, right? Like we have to know before we leave the hospital without our baby that like who's taking them and what they're doing with the baby. So anyway, that really was like we talked to a social worker, we talked to some resources there. And so it was helpful. Again, it was hard, but it was helpful practically. And we felt at least more like, quote, prepared for our loss too. But yeah, it was right after the new year. And I remember we had like gotten dinner with some friends, just really close friends that we have in the area. And we got home afterwards. And I like went to the bathroom and like wiped and saw a little bit of like bloody mucus kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, like that's interesting. But it wasn't like bleeding, it wasn't, just a little bit of that. And so I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like I'm going to clock that. And then 30 minutes later, I started having contractions. So like, I was like, these, I think, are contractions. I did not go into labor naturally with my first baby, so I wasn't sure of how that like looked at home. And then like all throughout the night, all throughout the next day, like I continued having contractions and they definitely did like pick up in intensity and, frequency, all of that. And I remember it was probably noon the next day. So, 12, 16 hours into labor, I guess. And my husband was like, should we call the hospital? Like, what do you think? And I was like, well, they did say to call if I'm having like cramping or bleeding or anything like that. But I was like almost in denial of like, if this is labor, like, I don't want to get excited. I don't want this to like, I don't want to go into the hospital and like, and then what, right? If we're not having this baby, like, I just like did really wanted to avoid that if possible. And that's just more of my background too, of like after my first birth, like this is before we learned about Benson's health, but it was so important to me to have a different birth experience. And like I had told you, like I had hired a doula and a midwife, and I wanted to avoid induction like at all costs. And I wanted to like try an unmedicated labor. Like I really want to do things differently. So when we found out about Benson, I was like, I kind of felt like it was like all out the window. I mean, truly, just like, especially when we thought we were preparing for a stillbirth and then like oftentimes an induction after stillbirth. I know you don't have to do that, but I just was kind of like, well, so much for that, which along with everything else that was heartbreaking in this time, like it if I'm being honest, it was really, really heartbreaking to think that like my dream birth would just like not happen.
Yes.
Because it meant a lot to me. I know it doesn't always mean a lot to some people, but I like really, really wanted to birth my baby in a certain way. And anyway, so all of this to say, when I started going to labor, I'm like, was just very hesitant to believe like this could be true. You know, like I could be going into labor naturally with this baby.
Yeah.
Like, and they had kind of like maybe mentioned that like a birth could or a labor could happen. I mean, I think sometimes your body does know that your baby is really sick and like can start labor early, you know, for those reasons. I mean, I don't know that like scientifically to be true, but I just think that at least somewhat makes sense. So anyway, we ended up calling the hospital, and I spoke to a triage nurse, and she asked me some questions, you know, all of that. And she was like, okay, well, based on the answers to these questions, like, we do recommend that you come in. Okay. And I was like, okay, like heard, but I was like, I'm just not ready to come in yet. Like, I really want to labor at home as much as possible. Okay. And like, I really wanted to make sure this was like happening. Yeah. And she, yeah, kind of the long and short of it was she was like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, I can note that in your chart and everything. Just remember, like, you're going against recommendations. I'm like, yeah, I get it. No problem. Okay. But she kind of knew my situation. I think from the notes, like knew that this was a different situation. And so she was like, I understand. Do what you need to do. Call us when you're ready. So I had continued to labor at home the whole rest of that day. And then finally it got to be closer to dinner time. And my husband was like, hey, if you think we're going in tonight, like, you know, let's maybe just make the decision because that way, yes, more for our little baby, you know, our son, like, so we can have someone come watch him and that, so we don't have to call family at like 2 a.m., you know, to avoid that. And it was definitely the right thing to do because I remember, I think we ended up leaving the house around 9 p.m., but I was like, yeah, it's good we're going in. Like, these contractions are really picking up and like this seems pretty legitimate.
Okay. Were they pretty intense, like painful as well? Or
yeah, I mean, I was waiting for them to like really be intense too, which again, I had never gone into labor at home. So I was like, well, I don't know. And I think I kind of was downplaying them for a little bit, but then like they were at the point where I had to like stop what I was doing and breathe through them. So I would say fairly intense. Okay. I wasn't like, in pain, in pain or anything, like having a difficult time. But I was like, okay, these are intense. And throughout Benson's whole pregnancy, like the pregnancy with him too, like I was preparing for an unmedicated birth. So I like was really almost like I'm like excited to be able to like use some of the tactics and the breathing and like, you know, all of that I had kind of learned about and focused on. So we got there and, checked in and I was like 4 centimeters dilated. So I was very much like in labor. Yeah. And I was also feeling Benson this whole time. So like I knew that he was still alive. Like I could feel him throughout labor, which was like fun and exciting. Yeah, there's kind of like a lot of details to the birth that I get kind of excited about. I don't have to share all of them.
No, we want to hear it.
But yeah, anyway, I got there, they checked me and, it ended up being an OB, and then I kind of worked with an OB for the whole rest of the time, even though they said I could work with my midwife too, but I only ended up seeing the doctor like one other time, so it was no big deal. Got me up to my room, and kind of a cool thing about our story too is like I have a friend that works L&D at this hospital, and so when we decided to go in with Benson, I just texted her. I was like, hey, any chance like you're working tonight? Or she was like, now I am, and she's like, I'm coming in. I don't care if I'm even clocked in. Like I'm coming in. So yeah, it was awesome. Like she actually ended up meeting us like right in the parking garage, just like we pulled in at the same time and we're both walking into the building. And that was just like one of the many God things in our whole story of like, she was literally there from the second we stepped on, like on site essentially. And she like walked us to triage. She's like, okay, I'll see you upstairs. And she was with us through the entire birth of Benson too, which was such a gift to know your nurse and for it to be someone who, really, really cares for you, even personally, not just like, you know, doing their job. But anyway, once we got up to our room, you know, of course they put us in like the back corner of the L&D ward in the little bereavement area. And we talked through the birth plan just a little bit more of like, no NICU intervention, like, no epidural. We want to labor naturally and just kind of see how things go. And she was like, okay, like I'm here when you need me, you let me know. And she just like really gave us our space too. She came in like every 30 minutes, I think they have to, and she helped me like change positions and things like that. But it was just like a very, very peaceful time. like even looking back, like my husband used the word, like it almost just felt like sacred, like really like kind of sacred in that hospital room of, yeah, it ends up kind of being a funny thing too, where we had called our doula once we got settled and was like, hey, which a cool thing about our doula is, you know, when we end up learning about the baby and all of that, you know, she was of course like, well, yeah, I'm still here to support you. Like I'm actually like, I kind of had like a secondary training in bereavement. So she, like some people even call her like just for stillbirths or just for losses, like as a doula. So that was another like cool God thing of like, she was well prepared to be with us, even though our story really pivoted. Anyway, when we called her, she was like, okay, you know, 4 centimeters, -2 stations, something like that. Like, you know, this could really be a long night. So why don't you just kind of settle in, even maybe get some rest for a little bit. And, you know, I'll head there in a while. And I was kind of like, okay, you know, again, probably downplaying my contractions because I was like, I don't think it's going to be a long night. Like, I don't know. I just had a feeling that like things were going, and I don't really know how to explain it, but, my husband like did kind of take her seriously. He was like, okay, I'll rest my eyes. And he kind of laid down. But I told the nurse, I was like, well, I'll rest, but like, why don't you just help make sure I'm like in good positions and grab me a peanut ball and, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up just kind of like silently laboring, for the next, I guess it was probably like an hour and a half because Sydney came in every 30 minutes and kind of helped switch positions. And after that third position, it was like just getting like pretty intense, and I had to stand up and really like work through them. And then I like all of a sudden felt like I had to go to the bathroom. And then when I went to the bathroom, I like felt very dizzy, felt like I was going to puke. And I was like, okay, I told my husband to get the nurse, and she came in. She's like, yeah, we should probably check you. And they checked me and I was at a 9.5.
Oh,
so
my
like,
goodness. In an hour and a half.
Well, I mean, probably more than that since they checked me the first time, but things were really cooking. And my husband was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, like I was just like laying there the whole time. Like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And, I was just like in labor land, like totally focused, like totally, I don't even know what I was thinking about, but I was just like in the zone.
Yeah.
And like, it was beautiful. Like, I just loved it. And I just love that, like, I got to have that experience with Benson. And it's just, even looking back now, like my doula didn't come, the nurse wasn't there, my husband was resting. Like it really was just me and Benson, which is like a very, very cool thing. Looking back at it now, especially, but, so things were really just moving along. And after that, I was pretty close to a 10 and started pushing shortly after that. And ended up, I guess pushing for maybe like 25, 30 minutes and delivered him the same way I did my first baby, on like a squat bar on the bed. And it was really cool. The only thing too is my water broke. And so I was like, okay, like this has gotta be like, because my water didn't break till the end.
Yeah.
And I like didn't really feel the urge to push though. Like I was like not feeling the urge to push even though I was at 10. And the OB ended up kind of like asked if she could feel up there again, was like, hey, baby's still pretty high. Like I think we're going to have to push him down. And I think that was part of him being preterm too, of like they didn't have time to like descend. Like didn't have time to like get down where they need to get, and you know, toward the third trimester and things like that. So anyway, it still just kind of like, I guess, worked him down. And then I was like, oh yeah, now is the urge to push. Like now that he's moved. And so also we chose not to monitor him throughout the entire labor because, I mean, they gave us the option, but we knew that like the stress of labor, could be something that, made him pass away, or, even if he had a heartbeat like 10 seconds before he came out, like there's still a chance that we weren't going to meet him alive. And so we were just like, however we meet him is how we meet him. And I think labor, when it had really progressed too, like I didn't really remember feeling him much more, but I think as there's a lot going on, I don't know if you really feel the baby very much. I don't know. So yeah, that was honestly a beautiful thing too, of like, I wasn't hooked up like to anything. Like it wasn't like, he wasn't being monitored. My contractions weren't being monitored. Like I didn't have an IV, like just so different from my first birth where I had like the Pitocin and the whatever and the epidural and like, all this stuff.
To the bed and
right.
So many things.
Which, yes. And I only bring that up because like, it was like really what I wanted, like really what I was hoping for. Like it couldn't have been any more of what I was hoping for of just like the labor experience, which is crazy that it ended up working out like that. But it was like, yeah, it was such a gift. But he came out and like right away we knew he was still alive because his little hand was moving and like he was making a bunch of little faces. Like he wasn't crying.
Yeah.
He never made a sound really, and I think that's just because of all the fluid in his lungs and everything. But I was like, oh my gosh, like he's alive, you know, like we just like could not believe it. And also he came out 6 pounds 15 ounces.
No, wait a second. Well, okay, because he has all that fluid on him, so that I mean, because he's there. If I'm not mistaken, it was about 32-ish weeks.
Yeah, 31.
31. Okay.
Yeah, about the closest.
Okay.
Yeah, 31 at this point. So, yeah, it totally was because of all the fluid, but it was just so sweet because it just felt like a term baby, you know?
Yes.
Like, I mean, of course, even if he was 2 pounds, we would have like loved him just as much, but it just was kind of like one more little like God hug of like a kind of more traditional labor experience I was hoping for. And like to have this big old baby come out, I was like, oh my gosh, he's like so big, you know? And he just felt like a full-term baby in our arms, and just really, just like so sweet. So he was making like little faces. Honestly, I think his faces were him like trying to breathe, and which is kind of sad, but like whatever, little faces and kind of his like, again, his hands moving and stuff like that. He went right to my chest, like my husband cut the cord.
Oh, good.
And he was just like right there with us, you know, like right away. I don't even think they like wiped him or anything, like tried to clean it, like nothing. Like they like literally let us, they like let us just have our time. Yes. Yeah. And it was, I mean, it was just precious. Like I really through that entire process, I just almost felt like just, like I was having like a normal birth of a normal baby. And I wasn't like the whole time thinking about preparing for loss or like, is he going to be alive? Is he not? Like, how long is he going to survive? I was just like, and I was kind of so in the zone. I mean, I think like a lot of moms could be too with labor. Like you kind of have to be present, you know, even though our minds are going crazy about our babies, you have to be an active participant in your birth. I mean, even with C-sections and everything, like it's your body. So it just, when I was like just talking to him and like, you know, all the things like right in our chest, and, you know, we could tell when he was like gone, like he really only survived a few minutes.
Okay.
I remember looking back at pictures and thinking it was like closer to like 15 minutes, but then my husband was like, no, Sarah, it was like 5, you know, it really wasn't. And maybe it was good that it felt longer to me. I don't know, but it was really only a couple, which the NICU doctor had told us that too. Like if he were to ever be born alive, like because we were like, would it be hours? Would it be minutes? And he was like, it would probably be minutes. And so we could tell when he was gone, but we still just were like hugging on him and loving on him. You know, I think he was in our arms for like at least 45 minutes to an hour before they even like took him to weigh him or, you know, anything. Yeah. Because the only other part of my birth story is that like they did have a really hard time delivering the placenta. Hydrops is what Benson had too. I'm sure a lot of your moms might know that term, but hydrops just means like over like too much fluid in too many parts of the body. Like I think if it's like 2 or more spaces where fluid is not supposed to be. So apparently because of that, and because he wasn't able to like do like the normally amniotic fluid, my placenta was just like not delivering, and it was just like coming out in pieces. And I guess it was like shredding, like, like not coming out a traditional fashion. And they even like tried multiple times to like sweep it and like get the pieces out, which was of course like really uncomfortable. Being unmedicated, that is when like that was kind of the closest it really got to like suffering. Like, you know, the labor was intense and like, you know, pushing was crazy, like all of that. But like, this was like really, really painful. Yeah. And I appreciate the doctors like trying to get it out. Like, you know what I mean? Of course, so you have to do that. And they tried multiple times to sweep it out. And again, the whole time with Benson in my arms, and we were just like kind of enjoying that. But they finally were like, there's still a lot of placenta in there. We have to get it out. And they were like, we need to take you to the OR.
Oh my gosh.
Under general. Because I hadn't had like, an epidural or anything. Yeah. And so that was like actually the first time I cried. And like the whole thing, his whole birth, I was like the OR, like general.
You're
I was like,
like,
I have to
no.
leave him. Yeah. And that was just the hardest because I mean, yeah, we have babies in our arms that like we know we don't get to take home, and like I just did not want to leave him. Like not
No.
for 1 second I didn't want to leave him, let alone like I did ask, I was like, well, how long do you think I'll be gone? And they were like, well, it won't take long to get the placenta out, but like, it could be an hour recovery, it could be like a 5 hour recovery.
Yeah.
Like everyone's different. And I was just like, I mean, I knew it had to happen. Like I knew it because I know that you can't leave placenta there. Like tons of bad things with that. And I knew there was no other option. They had already tried. And so at that point I was just like, okay, like let's go now. Like, can you take me now? Like I didn't even want to think about having to leave. I was just like, can you take me? And they did. They already had an OR like totally ready to go. So they wheeled me down there and, yeah, I mean, 2 hours to me felt like 2 minutes or like 2 seconds, when you're under general. And the benefit of that was like my husband just got some like really quality time with Benson, got to of course hold him that whole time. And they flipped the room over and like cleaned the room, all that. But also my husband's parents ended up being able to come. They were already, I think, like even waiting in the room. It was the middle of the night. This was like 2 a.m. So they came like middle of the night just because they wanted to meet him too. So my husband even wasn't have to be alone the whole time. He was with his parents for part of that, which I guess really all did end up working out, but was just kind of like didn't want to leave. No. Definitely didn't want to leave. Yeah. And then my recovery, I mean, honestly, I do think that was just like one other little miracle though of like, I think it was 45 minutes in the OR, but like maybe an hour in recovery, like basically minimum time. Yeah. And I woke up and I felt great. Like I felt fine. Oh, like I physically, like I wasn't groggy or like super, out of it. Like I seriously felt like totally normal. So I do know it was something that needed to be done. And I'm so glad that they at least like it was in and out, like everything went okay from there. I did have like the shakes after waking up from anesthesia, that sometimes happens. Like the whole time they're like wheeling me back upstairs, I'm like shaking in my wheelchair, and I was like, is this normal? They're like, yeah, it can be. And I remember getting back to our room and like the second I held Benson again, like the shakes totally stopped. Like they just stopped. Like I feel like no medical reason for that other than just like you're finally calm with your baby in your arms again, which was just like a very, very sweet thing. And I also think though, like coming out of general in that procedure and also just out of the whole like focused labor land situation too. I mean, I was just like sobbing. I was just like holding him, like sobbing, like, oh my gosh, like I'm back with him. And I was so happy to be back with him. But like, it almost is like that is when reality hit, like not necessarily when he was born, not necessarily,
you're so in the moment. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And yeah, I guess I mean, I was even looking back at pictures the other day of like just holding him and just like crying, right? Like just crying with our babe in our arms. I think, a lot of parents understand that feeling, unfortunately, that are listening to this. But yeah, and then Riley's parents left pretty shortly after, like just to give us our time. And it was really, really precious time, from then on out in the room. Yeah, I just remember it's so funny. They kind of like bundled him up and put a little hat on him, but me specifically, like I took the hat off, like I undid his swaddle, like I just wanted to see him, like, and touch him and feel him. And I think it was different with Benson because, he was preterm, but he wasn't stillborn. He like was born alive a little bit. Like I mentioned, earlier, like his skin was just like so like plump because there was so much fluid, but like so soft, like so soft. And he wasn't in there long enough for even like the vernix and like the casing to get on his skin. Like I just loved like his little hands and his little feet, and we were just so obsessed with like all those little details of him. Like we just couldn't stop, couldn't stop staring and touching and feeling and all of that.
And
I
was going to ask, when did you decide on his name, and how did you decide on Benson?
Yes. So after we learned about what was going on with him, my husband and I both were like, yeah, like we need to pick a name. Like he needs to have a name. We need to be able to pray for him by name. We need to be able to like, just the rest of this journey, like he needs to be a person, like a named person. And we had, like I said, like 2 names kind of on the list. Like they weren't very serious yet. And anyway, one of them was Benson, and actually it was kind of, we got the idea a few weeks prior to that. Like he's one of like kind of a common artist right now, Benson Boone.
Yeah. Yep.
You maybe know him. Yep. But we were like, oh, like Benson, our last name, like we like that. That kind of goes together. And so we just like put it on the list. But my husband especially, I think, just really liked the name. And then so when we started talking about it, he's like, I think his name is Benson.
Oh.
And I was like, yes, his name is Benson.
Okay.
Like perfect. We really didn't even just like think about it too much, or like overthink it, I should say. Like, I think if one of us had that gut feeling and he did, it was like, perfect. That's his name, And then we picked Michael, which is his middle name. We didn't have any kind of middle names in mind, but we named him Michael after just like the archangel Michael in the Bible of just, one of God's fiercest angels. And we knew that he would be one of ours for our lifetimes too. So we're like, Benson Michael, that really kind of goes together. So
it does.
What's his name?
Oh, that's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, I was going to ask, did he have much hair? He probably didn't have tons of hair yet.
He had some. He had.
Okay.
My first son was born with a ton of hair,
really?
So we weren't like shocked that at 31 Benson had some hair. And when he came out, we saw his hair, and I was like, oh, it kind of looks dark. Like it could be dark like mine, whereas my husband's blonde and my son is like blonde. After I had gotten back from the placenta thing, and our sweet nurse who was still with us, we were talking about his hair again, and she's like, well, I could just like kind of just do like a quick little like wash of it, and we can like see its natural color. And so she kind of gave him his first little, it wasn't actually a full bath, she just washed his head. And we have sweet pictures of that and stuff like that. But we washed it and it dried, and it like is very much like a reddish blonde, like light color. And I was like, okay, I guess 2 for 2. These boys, they don't want to take after their mama. I guess that's okay. But it was like the same color that my first son Jay was born with. So that was also just like so precious of
that.
He would have been like a little reddish blondish, like him. Yeah. And he came out even kind of, I mean, honestly, I didn't really see it as much. I think he's like, to me, Benson is just like such his own person. But a lot of people said they saw it, some of my son in him, and just it was kind of fun the hair color thing is something I'll always remember because of how it relates to our first baby and my son's features that they all seem to get. Like they're like blue-eyed blonde hair, and I'm like looking at me of like the dark features, but I know, but it's so fun. Oh. So fun.
That was wonderful.
We did. Okay. Another thing we were trying to prepare for the birth was like a photographer, right? Like, I mean, when we were preparing for our loss, a lot of lost families, I mean, whether it's like a Reddit thread or your podcast or, anybody that has experience in this, was like, take pictures, right? Like everyone's like, take so many pictures, so many videos, like, even if you're not ready to look at them for like months, like it's all the time you'll ever get with him, right? So we knew, and we did, we had nurses taking pictures throughout and definitely of the birth, but we knew that there was also like photographers that would come in, like Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, for example, with hospitals and everything. But we're like, well, if we don't know, like we weren't sure how to like plan for that. Like, we can't really contact someone unless we know when he's going to be born. So we were a little bit, I guess, like kind of stressed almost to be like, how do we get somebody here? Like, what do we do? Our doula, though, like the night before when we started to say that we were probably going to go in, she was like, I have a friend who does photography. She's like kind of getting into like newborn/stillborn. She's done just a couple other, but like she is happy to be there for you guys. I just talked to her. Like she can come anytime you're ready. And we're like, wow, like that's perfect. Like I don't even care if she's like not even that good at it. Like
we just need somebody there.
Perfect. Yes. And that she was willing to just like come whenever. And so we knew we had that planned, which was really, really great. And so she did end up coming, I don't know, maybe like 11 a.m. that next morning. Like we kind of told her when. And she was just this like sweet little angel. Like she just like flittered into our room and was just like so sensitive to the situation and like so soft spoken, but also like wanted to know about our family and wanted to like know about him and, like asked about us. and just like paid so much respect to Benson of just how she, she asked like, oh, can I move him? Or, oh, can I, the blanket, like anything like that, but was so comfortable with him. And that is just like one of the most meaningful things to my husband and I, because it just felt like she gave like so much honor to him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? By taking his photos and by just like kind of treating it like a little newborn shoot, like with his feet and with his swaddle and his hat, and just like didn't know us from Adam either, like didn't owe us anything, but like came into the like one of the most like sensitive times in our entire life, and was just like such a blessing. And yeah, I guess I just will never, ever, ever forget that. And her pictures are amazing. She literally had them to us within like hours. She must have gone home and just like worked so hard to edit them. Like, I think I got the email like when we got home from the hospital, like in the same hour.
Yeah.
And of course did not like take any money from us, like did not want anything. I mean, I'll probably never see her again in my life, but she was just this like sweet, sweet gift that, that we are just like, we never ever could repay her for what she did for us. Like, that's the other thing too. Like a couple of these people that just were really involved in like the whole process and, making it what ended up being a really, really beautiful time. Like I can't ever repay her for what she gave us. And I can't ever give her anything like she gave us, but those pictures, will always will be really, really special. And I love having both, like kind of the photographer, like more stage, of course, ones posed, and then of like real picture, like iPhone pictures from the birth, and, some videos that we took that are really personal to us and stuff too. So I'm just very, very grateful that we were just in the hospital room the whole time, like the light was shining in from the window, and we had a little cushion there that, we took pictures on and stuff. So, just loved having that time. Yeah.
I love that she was so, because I think that's the thing. I think people don't realize how much we want people to acknowledge that our baby was a baby, that they were a person. And so for her to talk to Benson and to ask you guys for permission, as if, like you said, like he was just a regular old newborn doing a little photo shoot. I think that's very, so helpful for the parents. I would feel so honored that she would do that for us. So
yeah, we did.
What other things did you guys do while you were in the hospital to either make memories? It sounds like you guys held him. You had photographs. Were you able to do any hand molds or any hand, the prints that they have, the ink print or anything like that?
Yes. Before the photographer came that morning/afternoon, our like actual like labor and delivery nurse. So now like the nurses had switched out. My friend, it had been her. I mean, it had been through the birth and everything. 7 a.m., shift change. And so we got someone else that basically just helped us, I guess, postpartum, but really with a lot of the memory making. Our nurse did it. So she, of course, they have to take the baby to do it. That's kind of like the bad thing, right?
It's hard.
And I know the idea is like, oh, we'll take them for an hour or two, and, maybe you guys can get some rest or sleep or whatever. Like, I was not going to sleep. I'm really bad at that anyway, especially with everything going on. So, but we knew it was worth it to have. So she made like foot molds, hand molds. They actually do like a head mold, like his whole head in plaster, which is kind of, we don't like, that's kind of a personal one to us too. I know, it's kind of almost like we kind of can just like almost laugh with it. Like, oh, it's his head. And like, anyway, it's kind of funny, but so they did a lot of those. And then this whole box that they made of like also prints, like his feet prints, they made like a Christmas ornament, a necklace thing, like all of this stuff with his name on it and a date, like very, very personalized. And I think it was just like the nurse who made it. And I was like, this is like not even in your job description. Like, thank you for doing all of this. And I think the hospital that's what they do. But, so we came with a whole box of memory stuff. And I actually remember it probably had been like an hour and a half, and I called and I was like, hi, I know that, you have the baby for stuff, but like if he can get back like anytime, like we're not sleeping, like I'd really like him back. So they did, they got him right back, and they were able to get what they needed to get and things like that. And I just like loved holding him. Like I kind of joked with my husband, like, hey, let me know when you want to hold him. Like I don't want to hog him. And he did like hold him a couple times too, but he was just like, I just love watching you hold him. Like I'm getting just as much out of like watching you be with him too, which really speaks to like like, I'm just such like a physical person too. I mean, also as moms, like we carry the baby, we birth the baby, like, it's very physical that in that way too. But I even think back, my husband and I have reflected on this, like it's like the physical for me, it's like physically having to leave him. That was like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we have to like walk out the door and like never see our baby again. Yeah. Like I just like, I can never get over that. And I would just like, do anything for like 5 more minutes to just hold him and be with him.
Yeah.
And my husband is honest and like, that was also like so special to me. But I think the hardest thing for me is just like thinking of all of the things in the future that we like didn't get to have, like that's just more of his, his brain and his love too. But, all of the milestones that we didn't get and all the, just the memories we didn't get to make with him of him growing up. So it was kind of helpful in our grief and in our healing and trying to figure out like how to grieve in general, that like it was okay that like we were actually really like we both stated that like the hardest things for us were very different things. Yes. But like that's fine and that's normal, and that's like it's actually good to be able to like say that and talk about that, and for me to know where my husband's heart is and for him to know where mine is, that was just something in our grief that we had to learn to do. And like it's kind of obvious, but it's also maybe not when you haven't grieved something that deep, that like grief is very different. Like we think of different things, and there's different things that make us sad, different things that, that help us heal. So, I definitely hogged him. And we read a book to him. We brought a book just to read to him in the hospital. And, my husband had actually written a letter to Benson, kind of like during the pregnancy, but toward the end when we knew kind of what was going on. And he read that letter out loud to him, which was, I hadn't even like heard the letter. So that was like, very, very emotional too. And it's kind of a bad thing too. My mom and my sister were both like out of state on a trip. I only have one sister, and my mom was with her too. So like they never got to meet him. They felt so terrible, but I was like, you guys, like this was not planned. Like you couldn't have planned around this. And it does make me sad though, because as I think a lot of us too think and like believe, like our baby was real. Like I really am stuck on that of like, he was real. He was here. Like he was a real person. And like, if we don't talk about him, who's going to, like only so many people even got to meet him, let alone for like 5 minutes too. So it kind of makes me sad that they didn't get to, just because like there was only this like precious amount of time to even like know and meet and hold Benson. And, they just weren't able to to even make that time, which again is not their fault, but because of such a short, precious life, it just like everyone that got to meet him, it just like meant a lot to us. And anyway, there's nothing we can do about that now, but all the more reason it just kind of encourages me to like talk about him and show pictures and almost kind of like remind them of him too. I think they always do think about him, but I'm just kind of sad they didn't get to meet him. My dad did. My dad came and met him and held him. And then Riley had a sister that came too.
Oh, good.
And held him. So we did have a little bit of family, just for really small doses of time, honestly. None of them stayed for very long, just to kind of honor our time with him too. So
did you ever did you want Jay to meet Benson? Was that something that you wanted to do? Or he's so little too, and I think that would be a tricky thing to think about.
Right. Yes, we were kind of torn, but we ended up not having him come to the hospital. Just really tough age where like, he was like kind of walking but he would have been everywhere and he would not have known that was like, I don't even really think he was understanding that I was pregnant. Like, okay. He's like a year old. He was like, 12, 13 and then 14. So like really, really hard time. Time of age of development. And we just kind of wanted to keep that like really serene, peaceful, hospital experience too. So we ended up not, which I don't really feel like super sad or regretful about, because like we will talk about his brother and like he will know him by pictures and everything, but would he have remembered meeting him? No, he wouldn't have. So that was a part of it too. I was like, at least we didn't have to explain to him anything that happened. I mean, I wish he would have known more about his brother coming and what was going on there, but we didn't really wish that after we lost him, and didn't come home with a baby. And all we came home to was just like this, laughing, smiling little boy, like who didn't know the wiser really, which again, I guess was a little bit of a blessing. Like we would be crying and stuff when we got home, and I think he like knew something, like because he was like more huggy, more lovey, but of course didn't know like exactly what. Yeah. But yeah, so no brother came to the hospital either, which was okay.
Yeah, that's okay, and I think it sounds like it was the right thing to do. Because like you said,
for us it was.
Little 12 to 13, 14-month-olds, they're busy.
Yes.
They're so busy.
Yes. Yeah. He wouldn't have known what was going on. He just wanted to like be busy. So
yeah. Okay. So then you, did the hospital have any sort of time frame that you could have Benson with you, or that you could, just was there any time frame that they put on that?
They did not have a time frame at all. So I think we even asked this question when we were meeting with that palliative care team beforehand, like, hey, just so we know, like, is there a time limit? Is there not? And I remember the social worker actually saying, like, there's not a time limit, but there is probably like a healthy limit, and that is different for all parents. Yes. Like there's not like an hour amount that is the healthy one, and then anything past that. But I bring that up because I kind of like started to know what he was talking about toward the end there of like every minute that passed, like I just felt like it was getting harder and harder to think about leaving. Like, I mean, it already is like impossible to think about leaving your baby, but with a little bit more time, it started to become like unfathomable, like almost that unhealthy of like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to leave this room. Yeah. Like, how could I ever like set him down for like the very last time and now like never get to hold him again. But thankfully it was kind of around that time where, my husband and I were like, I think we have to think about going. Like we have to leave at some time. Like we know that we're reasonable enough people to know, like you do have to leave at some point. And we just kind of decided that like we had to start really thinking about it. And so one of the last things we did is we did have, they had offered like kind of the spiritual care part of the hospital to have like a chaplain come in and, maybe say a blessing or a prayer over the baby. And so we did have that. She came in and she was also just like very, very kind, like just soft spoken, like very, all these like sweet people in our life that day. It was really nice. And I remember her kind of asking like, before she said the blessing, she's like, is there anything specifically you guys want me to like pray for or like, mention? And I just remember like looking at Benson and just thinking like, he is in perfect peace now. Like he is in perfect peace. Like we want him here with us, and like we very much want to take him home, but like he doesn't need anything else. Like his race was very short, but his race is won, and like there's nothing more that he needs from this world. And it was just kind of a weird like realization of like, it almost felt selfish. We had prayed and prayed and prayed for a miracle and for Benson and for God to like heal him. But now it was just like, well, gosh, like we're the ones that need the prayer. Like I was like, well, actually, can you pray for us? Like so that we, can just get home and heal and still be good parents to our son and, like just all of this. And I guess I just mentioned that because that was like such a gift that like even that thought came to my mind though, of just knowing that like, he is at perfect peace and he's already home, and we are sad he wasn't home with us and that we did not get more of like time on this earth with Benson. But I mean, we are Christians and we just believe that he is with Jesus, and that is like the very, very best place to be. So, she said a blessing and prayed over us, and it was really, really meaningful. And then we kind of did our last, like, I wanted like a video. Like I was still like so obsessed with him and his body and his like little feet and all of that. I was like, Riley, take one more video of me just like holding him and caressing him. And I just like anything that we could take home with us to help me remember like how much I just loved holding him. So we did that. And, Yeah, I switched out his, like, that was like one of the last things I did. Like, I switched out his swaddle because I really wanted to bring home the blanket that like he was in most of the
Yes.
time. Yeah. And kind of transferred him to a hospital blanket or, something that they had there. And then, yeah, I just remember like handing him off to the nurse. And she's the one that took him back to like their kind of nursery. And it was just like one of the hardest things I think I'll, ever have to do, right? Like, it's just so hard with our babies too, because like when we have other losses in our life, a grandpa or someone else, like we don't have to like walk away from them,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like they're gone and it's sad. And I'm not trying to compare it to other deaths, I guess, but like I mean, we like as his parents had to like walk away, like we had to physically remove ourselves from
Yeah.
the room, the hospital. And like I just think that is like so hard that in our own will, we all have to do that. And that drive home, of course, just like
Oh,
terrible, just terrible.
the
They
worst.
did, send home a little like stuffy with us. And I thought it was so cheesy when they were like, yeah, so that you have something to like hold on your way home. But boy, was I snuggling that that thing on the way home. I was just like literally like just crying. My husband's driving and I'm just like crying with that thing in my arms. And I was like, well, I guess whoever thought of this idea was onto something, because as much as I hated like having the idea of that in my head, it sure was helpful to have that stuffed bear or whatever on my lap, yeah, not that it takes the place of our babies, but I do remember that of like, oh, this is what it's for.
Yeah, the
I'm using
physical
it.
touch. Yeah, yep, you need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so we were probably with him. I remember thinking like I was at the hospital total maybe like 8 hours from like when we walked in the doors to like or out the doors, or not 8 hours, 18 hours.
Yeah.
And I think we were with Benson for about 12 hours after he was born. Which even comparing it to my first birth, like my induction was 18 hours long, like it was all like, it all went so fast. And we were like already home the next day. Like it was just kind of crazy, but it was definitely like very much the right amount for us, whatever it was. It was how long we needed to be there. So
yeah, it's still, yes, that is leaving the hospital without your baby is like, well, yeah, I'm
gotta be like top hardest thing.
yes, worst things that you'll ever do in your life. And it's just, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So you got home and little Jay was there. Sounds like he's doing good and everything. What plans did you guys have for Benson's body? Because that is all stuff that needed to be approved after before you left, is what they always say. And you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we just ended up like picking a funeral home that was fairly close to our home. And it, of course, was like a good one, or like we made sure it was a nice spot. But and then we didn't really want the pressure of like deciding exactly what to do with him or where to bury him or any of that. So we had him cremated. And yeah, and I remember, so also like, as I'm sure a lot of your lost parents, like they do all of that like for free, basically, like the funeral home, like the cremation, everything. They're like, yeah, we don't charge for this at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's just, it's very nice that there are, generous people like that with our tragedies. But we like still picked out like a nice urn for him and everything. So we did not have any kind of like memorial right after either. Like this was January, and we kind of had an idea of, I mean, same thing. We just like didn't want that. We're not ready mentally or emotionally to decide what to do. And so, and we know like that's okay. It was just going to probably be our family or something anyway. So we were like, in the summer, let's do something for him. And whatever that looks like, we know we have more time to decide. I remember too, the day that his ashes were like ready to pick up, I was still home, like on maternity leave, basically from work. But my husband was at work that day, and we got like the email of like, hey, they're ready to pick up. And my husband was like, do you want to wait till I get home? Like, are you okay going alone? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I really don't want to go alone, but also like, I can't even I can't even like think of
Wait.
another
Yeah.
hour, that goes by that like he's not home with us. So I just went right over there and picked him up, and I just remember that being a pretty emotional time too, but it did feel like so much better to have him like home with us,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I don't know, it seems silly, but like the second I knew he was just like sitting in a, in a room somewhere over there, I was like, I have to get him
just by
home.
himself.
Like,
Yeah. You just like, it's that kind of a thing. You just want to you want to parent your child, you want to nurture your child. And
yes.
yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so it was a hard thing to do alone, but and I know, again, my husband would have gone with me. He was just like, I just need a few hours. But I was like, nope, I'm going to go. And I felt so much better once he was home. So yeah, that was kind of like a bigger day afterwards too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, every day seems like a big day kind of afterwards for quite a while.
Yeah.
But
It really does.
yeah, so we have him home with us, and
Good.
we are going to have a memorial service next month
Oh,
with
wonderful.
just our family. So Riley has 3 sisters, and I have one, and then our parents. And we have kind of recently been really thinking about like what we want to share and how we want to. I guess kind of like structure it. We are just going to be outside and just like all be together, but we're going to offer some time for like family to share any thoughts or reflections or anything they want to. And I think Riley is going to read the letter that he wrote him. And I haven't quite decided how I want to share yet either, but I think I might like also write in letter form, like maybe like a letter to Benson, but like an after the fact letter. um, just kind of sharing like when I think about him, like, how he's made an impact on our lives, the lives of others, and how much I miss him and all the things I'll remember about him. I just kind of want to share a lot of that too. So,
That is great. I,
mhm,
we had our funeral kind of quickly because we were burying our
mhm,
son. So,
mhm.
but there was something to be said about having a little bit of time to be able to kind of plan what you want and have it be something that is really nice. And I think that's
Yeah,
really cool that you get to do it in the summer too and have a different point of view. Because, yeah, there's a lot of probably trauma associated with the wintertime now. I just think that
yeah.
how hard that is to kind of picture that now. So,
hmm Yeah, pros and cons because now I like getting it done. I think would have just helped get it done, but also now I like don't want to think about the memorial, but I do because I know it's going to be special and honor
yeah,
him. But I'm just like so sad every time I think about
yeah,
it. And I mean, almost like sharing his story on a podcast. It's like, how do I like encapsulate like all of the
yeah,
meaning he had in our life, like in a memorial service? But
yeah,
again, we kind of said this earlier, like it's not about that. Like we can't put pressure on ourselves as the parents too to like really ever try to portray how much our babies mean to us because it's just impossible. Like it's impossible to in our words and in our human tendencies to like ever get across how much our baby means to us, and no one else will ever understand, and
yeah,
like that's okay.
yeah,
Like they're never going to. My sister, my friend, my whatever, like they're never going to understand how it feels, for me personally to lose my Benson. And honestly, our other lost parents are as close as it gets. At least that's how I feel of
yeah,
like talking to you or talking to anyone else that lost their baby. Like they're really the only other ones that can say like,
yeah,
yeah, I kind of know how you feel. Like
yeah,
I believe it to be
yeah.
true how you feel.
But still,
Um,
still different. But yes, just a little bit closer. Yeah,
mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just have to kind of constantly remind myself of that too, that like, yeah, number one, not to put pressure on myself of like to try and talk about him and explain how much I feel about him because like that's it's never gonna like do it. It's never gonna like be the standard because
Yeah,
there's so much to be said, but also to keep talking about him and to make sure that people know how special he is and how special he was to us, and that he'll always be a part of us and our family too.
yeah. That's who your family is.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, I just to kind of back up just a tiny bit. Did the doctors, MFM, anybody, did they have any sort of indication of why there was that, the kidney anomaly
Mm-hmm.
on that pelvis portion? Was there anything in particular that they said, or was it just kind of like it just happened?
They still never really had any answers. Like with our
Okay.
baby, we know how he died because we
Yes.
knew what was going on with his body.
Yeah.
But we did end up sending the placenta off for testing, the Anora testing. And that I think is a lot of like chromosomal testing, if I'm remembering right. And the genetic counselor, I remember her calling us a few weeks later and was just like, there was no abnormalities, like no chromosomal, at least abnormalities. So nothing like genetic in that way. She was like, we can dive deeper if you guys are interested and do some carrier testing and other stuff. But I don't know, I just kind of had it in my gut too that like this didn't come off as some kind of genetic condition either. Like I think it was just like something didn't form right, and all of a sudden things got like really, really bad. And we've already had a healthy baby and we don't have any history of anything in our family. So my husband and I, we just chose not to pursue further testing. So there was not really any ever reason. I do think it was just
it just happened.
I think it just happened. I think it did. And I remember the genetic counselor too saying like, I'm so sorry I, couldn't give you more answers. Like I know that oftentimes gives parents some peace, but like me personally, I was like, I don't know if I would have had any more peace if I would have known it was like, oh yeah, it was a abnormality on chromosome 27 or something, right? Like,
you're like, what am I going to do about that?
Okay. Like, like he's not here. Like, so that's just how I felt personally. And so I think like lose out on any peace from not knowing. Especially like we at least know like why he died, like meaning like I guess anatomically.
Yeah.
So and I just believe moving forward that other pregnancies, God willing, will like be protected, and if we ever need to cross another bridge with anything, we will. But we didn't really want to pursue any other deeper dives because we're like, gosh, it's really too bad it happened, but it did, and we just kind of think there's some things like that happen, unfortunately.
They do. We are mortal and we're human, and yes. Sarah, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and so grateful to hear about Benson and his little life. And I realize that I hope that you have plenty of other things that you're like, oh, I forgot to tell them about this. And I hope you are able to just remember all the little things also that we may have not covered today. Is there anything that we forgot to cover though, or that you wanted to bring up about him before we close up today?
I mean, we're just so grateful to still have been able to have him and to meet him and for him to be a part of our lives. And it is such a really a gift to have this community of yours still a part of us. And, even just the things you share too, Winter, because like I said, it makes me feel less alone, and it helps me give language to like our babies are real and they matter, and they don't need to be compared to any of our other babies, and they're just so special, and we're grateful to have had a beautiful, honestly a devastatingly beautiful, but a beautiful experience of the little miracles that happened of like going into labor naturally and meeting him alive, and just like so how well cared for we were through the whole process. We are so grateful to God that that is the way that he brought Benson into this world, and he will have a testimony that goes on from this. I know Benson will have an impact on so many people's lives, and I'm just really grateful for that. So thank you for allowing me to share some of his story, and even if not one person listens to this, just one more person, one more time I should say, that I got to talk about him and to honor him and who he was to us. So thank you very, very much.
You are so welcome, and thank you for sharing who he is. I think it was a privilege to be a part of that today. So thank you so much again, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.